Okay, we've started recording.
Hey, everyone, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. We have several people in person and several people online. And here's another one, a good one. So thank you guys for joining tonight. I did not hear from Councilwoman Sawyer as to whether she's going to be here.
I'm here.
Oh, she's online. Hey, Councilwoman.
Hi.
So we'll jump in. I think today, did you have anyone who was going to present? I'm just trying to honor people's times.
Right.
So
Oh, great, thanks.
we'll just start. Does anybody have any questions? Was everyone able to access the last meeting? Those are kind of our minutes. I'm going to try to do another one of those Zoom recordings that then translates with AI into minutes. So I'll give that another go, but we'll go ahead and get started here with reports from our council people. Who else? Councilwoman Sawyer's here. Who else is here? There she is.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Okay, hold on. There's like a bunch of things popping up on my screen. There we go. Okay. I should probably close the thing blinds behind me so you can see me. Is that better?
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay, good. Hi. Great to
Got a
see
halo.
everyone. There's a lot going on down at the city. I will save our JID update for when we actually do the whole update for you as usual. But you know, probably you have read the news. We are $200 million over budget for the next 2 years. So that means that there's going to be a significant amount of cutbacks, and we're all on furlough days and things like that. So not great news. I hate it when I'm right. And so I, have been saying this for quite some time now, and it's very frustrating that it came true. But, we're trying our hardest. We will continue to provide services to residents as required and as we always have. I don't have enough information from the mayor's office or the Department of Finance to be able to answer a lot of questions about it. I think probably the biggest question everybody has is how did we get into this hole? It is a perfect storm of a lot of different things. It is the bill for immigration. It is the bill for the House 1,000 initiative, and it is the bill that came from softening sales tax, which is just, the result of market uncertainty. So, we are in a tough spot right now. We will get through. We have been here before, but, there are very specific things that the city has to do based on our financial policies and procedures once we get into this kind of situation. So that's where we are right now. And as I know more, I will share it with you, but it is not a great situation for us to be in at all. I think that's probably it for updates right now. There's still lots going on down at the city. Our work doesn't stop just because we don't have any money.
That works. Ours doesn't either. Yeah, it just makes your job so much harder, and we appreciate it. I know. So,
yeah, I will say one other just really exciting update that we're working on. So Owen and the team from Councilman Cashman's office and the team from Councilwoman Torres's office have spent the last 2 years working really, really hard on legislation that will update our vacant and derelict properties ordinance to give it some real teeth. And it will include a higher fine structure. It will include a clear requirement for property owners to maintain their properties in good repair and to close them up and secure them when they are vacant. So there will be a first responder fee that is added as well. So huge shout out to Owen and the other aides from Cashman and Torres's office that have done an extraordinary job of bringing this forward. But we go to committee on June 10th. So we're moving. It's almost done. We're almost to the finish line on that one, which is, I think, going to make a huge difference at places like 50 South Colorado, at places like the Old Peepers Optical, and parcels like that have essentially been ignored by absentee property owners and are, safety hazards in the community. They're attractive nuisances for, for crime, for camping, for a lot of different things. And it's a huge resource drain and waste, for our first responders who have to go out there. So we're not having it anymore, and it's coming on June 10th. So I think that's our exciting updates for now.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, can I ask her a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, are you involved at all in the 16th Street Mall rebirth, so to speak?
I am not. It's not my district. It is a citywide thing. We all really rise and fall on the success of 16th Street Mall and downtown in particular. We here in Cherry Creek are not interested in displacing or replacing downtown as the kind of top area of the city. So it is great. It's really exciting. And if you have an opportunity to get down there this summer, please go. They're doing some really great things to try and revive our downtown, and it's going to take all of us and getting in our Ubers or our cars or whatever and going down there to get it done. But it's really neat.
Well, maybe someday we'll have a shuttle down there and make it all easier for all of us. Who knows?
Just saying.
But they do have a lot of planned activities for June, right? Maybe we could get a posting of those and send it out to everybody, because you're right. I mean, we all need a vibrant downtown.
Absolutely.
So we need to hope that all works and try to get down and enjoy it when we're not in our own wonderful neighborhood. So Linda?
Just a question on your excitement on June 10th. If there's a area in our neighborhood that we're concerned about, what's the outreach? Is it 311 or how do we identify?
Yes. So there is already a vacant and derelict properties ordinance. The challenge was there was no staffing and community planning and development to actually enforce it. They have started enforcing it as of early 2025, based on our offices pushing on this, because there are vacant and derelict properties all over the city, and they are a real drain on resource, and they look terrible. Right? I mean, it makes us look like we don't care about our city. So please let us know. Also report it to 311, but we can get that forwarded directly to the guy. There is one guy in CPD. His name's James Hicks. He's doing a fantastic job of managing this for the whole city. And so that we can get it to him directly so he can come out and take a look at it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very, very much. I will ask Richard to give an update on the bid.
Yeah, okay, so gosh, right now we're busy with construction and more coming. So that's been a big topic of conversation on trying to mitigate those impacts and trying to think outside the box so we can help our small businesses. I would say just for this group, those small businesses that are affected by this construction, stop in as a neighborhood and say hi and maybe buy something. I think of like Katie down at Show of Hands, who's just been bookended down there with street closures, and really trying to figure out a way to help support those folks. So we've got a few ideas to path out with the city as far as some signage and just trying to make sure that contractors are working together to minimize those disruptions. But that being said, we will see probably 242 Milwaukee break ground in about a month and a half. So that'll be both sides of Milwaukee under construction, and Cherry Lane is getting ready to go to demo here. So lots
What
of
about
activity.
the idea of rolling this out? Because in our neighborhood, we have business memberships, and I know Cherry Creek East is sensitive to this as well. But what if we at the steering committee just picked a day and say small business construction survival party? Everyone go down, say hello to your neighbors, buy something, maybe have something
I
organized.
think any synergy, and maybe even around that small business weekend might be a good time to.
When is that?
Once a year, doesn't
Yeah.
it? This Saturday.
I want to say it's once a year right around the holidays, but let me maybe pop it out and bring Lisa
Saturday
into the
after
conversation.
Thanksgiving.
That's right after
so
Thanksgiving.
Right, yes.
For us,
Our people.
get our steering committee people, get it out to our neighborhoods, and say, let's do something to support our businesses. We've been having some good success really connecting with them, with our neighbors. So maybe we can,
Just a question. So is this just put out a blast saying go down and, or are you talking about the steering committee having something to gather people there?
I'm thinking of working with the bid and the
Yeah.
hearing committee to pick a day that we can get out. Of course, Richard can reach all of the small businesses. But then we pick a day and maybe we do a little flyer that we can get out by email and we get to all of our neighbors and just say, we did this during COVID, right?
Yeah.
When COVID hit, we came together and we said, go buy, first of all, take out food. That was easy. Take out alcohol. That was easier. And then we said, go buy gift certificates, right? Go buy some things to help these people survive. Well, this is, way less, but for some of those impacted businesses, maybe even more. So I'm just suggesting that we do something. If we say this is an issue and they know, then we're wrapping our energy and our support around them, which I think is important for them to know that we're here for them.
Yeah, that could be
Do you
great.
think the bid can handle like a little bit of effort? I mean, I don't want to make a big job for somebody.
You could send it
Yeah,
out.
it's a one-off. Yeah, we could send it out.
Yeah.
I can get somebody on our marketing team and
Yeah.
I'll reach out and we'll start
Yeah.
kind of
Okay, put them into
brainstorming. Yes.
Draw. So you have to market it somehow,
Yeah.
not just
I don't know.
Help us out.
help us out, but
Incentive
there's
positive.
punch on the corner. I don't know.
Let's do some noodling. It might be
An
fun
incentive
to-
around one of the businesses that they host something and that way the
Yeah.
business has people there and we can offset it and for them to host something.
What if we let me noodle this a little bit, and I'll talk to somebody, maybe even a show of hands. I've still got a couple of those boxes of discount cards, which I don't know if they're still working. But
No.
we had done
It's
that.
been a long time.
But, I'll find out. I'll call a couple of businesses on that. But we could also do like a scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
So find some prizes and the scavenger hunt can take you to the different businesses and you have to go find something out, post it in that business. So, and then whoever completes it, we can put those in and do a raffle for something fun. So, but we'll noodle on that and maybe we can do something, mid-July. Oh, you are so on. Anybody else want to help?
Lot on your plate, yeah.
If anybody else wants to volunteer to help on this, let Richard or Susan or just let me know and then we'll get something together. But I'm glad that we can noodle this because
Yeah, I think
that's what this committee is about, right? Supporting our
Hey,
neighborhood.
Lou.
and things. Yeah.
Keep us posted and we can share it on, newsletter, social media, whatever, too.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
Good.
Something to look forward to. And so now I think,
Are you done?
did I see Mr. Wilson? Yes,
Yes.
Mike. Hi, thank you for being here. How about an update on the mall?
Oh, thanks, Lou. I appreciate it.
I'm thinking it's done.
Can you guys hear me?
Done.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Just a couple of quick updates for the center. A few weeks ago, we got the opportunity to host about 130 people from ULI Denver. And the Denver was in ULI, but we actually got to host several people from across the country. Had a lot of fun. It's really nice to be able to show off the center. In addition to that, we've got 4 store openings that occurred since we last met. We have the brand new Kiel store, brand new Tory Burch store, brand new American Eagle store, and the brand new Allen Edmonds store. In addition to that, we still have 12 stores that are under construction or just started construction or remodel that are underway as well. Center remains 98% leased, very, very, just on every, metric doing very, very well. For upcoming June events, we've got our Kids Club program kicking off, free to anyone with kids that want to come down starting Wednesday, June 11th, and that continues every Wednesday through August 13th. And then last but not least, we're going to be participating again this year in Colorado Bike to Work Day on June 24th. So we're really trying to encourage everybody to get out. We're going to do some fun stuff for the employees as well. But, be it employee, community member, or shopper, we'd like to just really support people to get out for that particular day. So thanks, Lou.
Mike, could you say a little more about the kids program?
Yes, so Kids Club starts on Wednesday, June 11th. And it continues through the 13th. You know what I'll do, Lou? I'll drop some more details in there in the chat in just a minute after I stop talking, and I'll get you all the dates that it is with the event that corresponds with that particular day.
So would it be helpful to you if we helped advertise that for you?
Wonderful. Yeah, it's free and it's community facing. We definitely want as many families out there as possible to participate. That'd be amazing. Thank you.
So we have Cherry Creek North does a catch up, and we can talk about these kinds of things in the catch up to encourage participation. So get the information. If you just send something to me by email, Mike will take it from there. I'll get it to Linda, who will do her magic on social media and our catch up.
Awesome. Thanks, Lou. Do you just want me to respond to the whole group with it, or do you just want it to go to you, Lou?
Fabulous. Yeah,
Okay,
send it
I'll
to the
send
whole
that out
group.
right
That's
now.
great.
Thank you.
Mike mentioned you also got, the city got the fountain going at the south end.
Oh, yeah. Fountains Market.
It looks beautiful. Yeah, it's so nice to have it going.
Amazing how much energy there is. Creek there.
Yeah.
Fountain is great.
It really looks really nice. Thank you for adding that.
Okay, well, thanks very much, and thanks for being here. We appreciate it. Okay, Cherry Creek West, I saw Jenny. Hi, Jenny, thank you for being here.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Well, everything is going well at Cherry Creek West. We're just designing our first buildings. And also we have, as you know, picked our contractor. It's Mortensen and Saunders, two local groups who are great. And they've been helping us with interviewing demolition subcontractors who will take down the first two buildings later this fall. So we're looking to pick somebody probably in June who will start all the permitting and work related to taking down the first two buildings. So that's what we're focused on at the moment. But I know Michael mentioned Bike to Work Day. We're looking forward to having a tent on site for that event as well.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thanks very much for the update and for being here. So we'll move on to the JID discussions. Oh, wait.
First. I still had some stuff.
Oh, you did?
I did, yeah.
Oh, good, you had more to talk about.
We had just a few more. This is just for the group because this is gonna be huge.
Okay, back to
Okay.
Richard.
We have a free concerts on Fillmore this year and you have to hear this lineup. It's gonna be good. I'll cover bands, right? So we are gonna start on Thursday, June 12th with Surf's Up. It's a Beach Boys tribute band.
We know.
So in July 10th, we have a Chris Collins, a John Denver tribute. On August 14th, we have a Milestone, a Beatles tribute. And then we'll finish out September 11th with the Long Run, the Eagles tribute band.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we're calling it Throwback Thursdays. And then it's gonna be
Cool.
music I'm gonna enjoy.
Yeah, right.
I didn't pick them, but I'm gonna love it.
All that kind of music. Cool.
Yeah, I know, we know all the words.
Yeah, we know it. So I get to see everybody out there.
We know all the words.
Yeah.
More?
I've never-
Are you sure?
I could keep going, but that's the
Okay,
one that I
all
had to get
in?
out.
All in, all done?
All in, all
Okay.
done.
Okay, move on. Thank you very much, Richard. Appreciate that. Okay, so I know there's been a lot going on with the general improvement district discussions. So I will turn it over to Councilwoman Sawyer and I don't know if, are you solo tonight, Councilwoman?
I am. Jamie is enjoying a much needed vacation. So Owen and I are here. But we do have the information for you. I'm just trying to figure out how to share my screen. Okay, if I pull this up, can you see what I'm looking at? Because I can't really see you guys.
Yep, we sure
Yes.
can.
Cool.
Make it a little bit bigger.
I can make it
I
bigger.
can't-
Lot.
That's up
I
to
don't-
me.
I don't know. Can
There you
I?
go. And I got you.
Okay, thank you, Richard.
There we go.
Oh, there, good job.
Okay, so what's in red is new. So, overall engagement, we've talked about our engagement sessions. This is our giant list of meetings held. So you can see what's in red is new. Can you guys see my cursor?
Yeah.
Sure can.
Oh, great. Okay. So you know what I'm talking about. So we've talked to the mayor's office. We reached out to the 6th Avenue businesses. That was very interesting. They said that they had talked about creating a business improvement district between University and Colorado Boulevard along 6th Avenue, but they just don't have the bandwidth to do it. So they're very excited about the potential for creating a general improvement district if that's what the residents decide they want to do. Because they feel like that would be a huge benefit to them. And, you know, even though they're commercial properties and they pay 4 times as much property tax as residents do, like, they are still very interested and excited about it. So that was good to hear. We have the Cherry Creek residents info session that we did, the Triangle info session that ended up having no attendees. So we could use some help. If any of you have connections in the Triangle, please send them our way. We sent the postcard. We also have sent a letter to all of the property owners and management companies. So, you know, we're trying our hardest to get some outreach there to see if they would be interested in joining. Unfortunately, we're not getting any response, which is pretty telling. So, you know, if you know anyone there and you can send them our way, we would really appreciate the help on that.
Councilman, you might reach out to David Foster, because he owns the Foster Graham firm building there.
Yep. We have, you know, we have tried to do some outreach to all of the property owners. I think the Ptarmigan building is the largest one, and that would be the other one that we really would like to get outreach to, and no response. So I suspect they are not interested. But we're going to keep trying, because that is a pretty significant area. I think it was Brooks who first said, like, we don't want an island. And I think that's right. And if one of the projects that we are considering in this, you know, idea of JID that keeps bubbling up and percolating up from a lot of different places is implementation of the Greenway plan along the creek, then they would benefit from that, or we would have to start at, you know, kind of in the middle of it. So it would be really great if we could get them involved. So please, if you know anyone, send them our way, reach out to them, have a conversation with them about it. You know, and see if there's any way that we can get some additional conversations going with them, because we're not hearing anything back, which, like I said, is telling, but we would love to be able to include them, because I think not having that island, for lack of a better term, would be really great.
You used to have a representative on the steering committee.
Do they not anymore?
No, it was Ted Kenny.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Long time ago, I was here then, yeah.
And here you are.
All right. So yeah, and then we've got our postcards hit the printer on Friday, so they should be in mailboxes mid this week to early next week at the latest. So hopefully we will get some survey responses going from that. And then we've got some additional meetings that are scheduled that are coming up that we're, you know, looking forward to. And then, you know, we've kind of been through these key takeaways, so I will skip all of that. And I think that that's it. It's really just all the different, I'm going to stop sharing so I can see you guys, because it's really weird for me to not be able to see you while I'm talking to you. Okay, there we go. So I think, you know, we've had some really good conversations. We had a lot of good questions from residents, from businesses. We have updated the FAQs on the website, and, you know, we've put copies of all of the different outreach we've done on the website. We have put questions. We had some really interesting questions, like, what is the voter breakdown, right, in the, you know, proposed JID area. And it was very interesting, you know, I think it's about 47.5% that are property owners. When you add in, you know, not just property owners that are on the title, but their kids, their spouse, maybe they're not on the title, but they are registered voters, so they are allowed to vote as well. So it's about 47% property owners. It's about 41% renters, and then it's about 5%, maybe a little bit less, of commercial properties. So 3% of commercial properties. So it's a really interesting breakdown. That's up there. We had a couple of questions about, like what happens when a JID goes wrong? Can you give us an example of it? And we can't, because there is not a general improvement district in Denver that has gone wrong. But we did put some information up there about the business improvement district in Rhino that just was reapproved by City Council 2 weeks ago for another 10-year period, but they are having to restructure their management structure in order for us to approve it. So I think that's a pretty good example and a totally fair question. There's lots of new information under FAQs based on things that we heard, questions that we received at different outreach points throughout the last kind of month or so since we last updated you guys. So, we are hearing the no's are starting to turn out for sure, which is good, because, they're allowed to say no, and that's okay. We don't want to, keep moving forward if this isn't something people want. But it has been very interesting that they have finally started to turn out, because for the first 4 or 5 months we did this, almost no one said no. Everyone pretty much said, I need more information, but I feel like this is something we need to kind of keep pushing forward on. So that's been interesting. We updated the pricing on the website so that people can see this is what it would be at 3 mills. This is what it would be at 4 mills. This is what it would be at 5 mills based on the value of the house. Or the commercial property, they're both up there. So we tried to add some additional information on that. Lots going on right now, very busy. I think our 2 asks of you guys would be help with sharing the survey link and getting that out to as many people as you possibly can to make sure that we're getting as much response as we possibly can get. I think we did the final count and it's about 7,000 voters. So it's a lot of outreach that, that needs to be done. So if you can get that in front of people as often as possible, the survey closes at the end of the day on June 15th. And then our second ask would be, I already said it, if you have connections in the triangle, please send them our way. We would love to, engage the triangle and see if we can get them involved, because it would be a real shame if we put this all together and they weren't a part of it. But right now they don't seem particularly interested. So that's, I think, where we are. What questions can I answer for you all?
I have a question, Amanda.
Yeah.
On the sheet that you sent out to Cherry Creek, says the mayor appoints the people who are on the board of the JID.
Right.
Let's say there's 2 from Cherry Creek North. Do the residents of Cherry Creek North elect 2 people that the mayor approves, or does
Yes.
the mayor? Okay, so it comes from the neighborhood.
Right.
To the mayor. It's not a political appointee by the mayor.
Correct.
Okay.
That is all set up in the work plan, right? So if the survey results come back and people want to move forward into actually creating a work plan for the general improvement district, that board makeup, including the first people who are on the board, is in the work plan.
So, but how they are chosen, that can be put in the work plan, saying, so in the work plan, you can put the neighborhood gets to pick the 2 people that they want to be on the board, subject to the approval by the mayor. You can put
Correct.
that in the plan.
No,
Okay.
that's the way it works anyway. That doesn't need to
Okay.
go in the plan. We put the actual
Okay.
people in the plan.
Okay. All
And
right.
then what we
And
say,
who writes the plan?
if we move forward with it, Jamie will write the plan. And there's a whole, essentially what we've done right now just ends in this feasibility study and tells us yes or no, we're moving forward into phase 2 or, whatever. And then essentially it's a whole other next round of community outreach where, we go out and we say, okay, these are the projects that were approved. These are the projects that weren't approved, et cetera. And that second phase 2, if we move forward with it, we will contract again with Jamie to actually do the writing of the plan.
These are all
reviewed by
questions that, as I'm trying to garden.
Yeah.
I had no less than 8 people stop me gardening.
Uh-huh.
So they could ask about this. And there was a lot of, I mean, these are the questions that
Yeah.
came to me that I couldn't, expressly answer. And they did want to know about the ones that had failed. But you already answered that. So,
Yeah,
okay.
I think those are
Oh,
totally
the
fair
other thing
questions.
was on the survey that is going out, is there a place where you can put, we don't want to do it at all?
Yes, it's the
Okay.
last question.
Last question.
Okay.
I did it today. Amanda, just,
And there is a space where the first question is, what is your relationship to Cherry Creek? And if you are not a resident, a property owner, or a business owner, you select none and it kicks you out of the survey.
Okay.
It kicked me out of the survey.
Sorry, Richard.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to see the survey and I
It
put that
kicked
and I'm
me
like,
out of the
okay, I
survey
don't get to
too.
see the survey.
Amanda, just a comment today. Frequently, I walk through and go to your website and walk through the Q&A. It's the best I've ever seen on your updates. There, every question I could think of had a response on there. So that Q&A is really critical right now as we do get continuous questions. That's a great resource for us to back up. So at least we're giving them the correct response.
Yeah, great. I'm so glad to hear that. And if you get other questions that aren't on that FAQ, let us know and we'll add answers.
Okay, it's even better.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, well, we
Awesome.
really appreciate the continuous updates. I completely agree. I think that the information has gotten tighter, better, more comprehensive. And especially if there are questions that come up and you first of all, if people have questions, and send them to the Q&A. So we will do the same thing about trying to get this information out to people so that everybody can have a say, have a voice, who lives in the neighborhood, who does business in there. I'm looking at Alan because he got kicked out of I know he got kicked out of the
You got
survey.
kicked out of the survey. And the
Alan
other
and
thing
I,
is,
we're
once
going
you
out for
get kicked
drinks
out of
after
the
this. We're
survey,
gonna do great.
yeah, you
Yes,
can't
very
go back
hurt
in.
feelings, very hurt feelings.
Sorry, Alan.
Yes.
It was Friday night. We were so looking forward to this.
We're really worried about you.
Right.
Survey night.
Yay. Okay, well, thank you again very much. Councilwoman, there are several little things that we're going to touch base on in a presentation here that will be coming before council. So we know
All right,
that
I'm
you
outta
have
here.
to exit. Does that apply to Owen as well, or does he have to stay?
It does not apply to Owen, but I'm sure that he would be more than happy to sign off and go have a life this evening. So
You're
I love you
Owen.
guys, but
Okay. All right, thank you again for all the information, for being here, and for all you do for us.
awesome. Thanks, you guys. Take care.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Okay, one quick thing before we dive into this digital directory issue. I did want to just mention to everyone, because there have been a lot of questions, certainly with our group, there have been a lot of questions about what is going on with the QI patio. And so Quality Italian had that outdoor patio below curb. It was the only one, I think, to date that's been applied for in Cherry Creek North. They've received a lot of comments. It did go in front of the design advisory board, and you could tell there were a lot of people there who said, I know we're supposed to keep this design, but is this really right? So it is going, Dottie determined that this is a tier 3 encroachment, which means that it has to go in front of city council. So it will be going in front of city council, and we have already done some work with some immediate residents in the neighborhood who have a real issue with that. Several people in Cherry Creek North have a real problem. People have problem getting to the post office. So, and I've mentioned this to Richard so that the bid knows that there will likely be some opposition from both some HOAs in the area of the condominium associations, like 250 Columbine, and probably also from Cherry Creek North. We haven't completed that yet. We are still moving forward with a good neighbor agreement to work with the operator just in case, because they will have to modify their liquor license to apply to outdoor patios. You know, that was not done during COVID. And one of the questions I had when they started talking about this program was, you have to amend their liquor license, because otherwise they can get a permit to put their patio below curb or in public right away. But I know, because I look at all the liquor license stuff, it's not on the liquor license. So now every time they do one of those, they do, under the current new regulations, have to amend their liquor license, which gives everybody a chance, if that happens in your neighborhood, to look at the liquor license and talk to the operator and think about ways that you might mitigate concerns that you have with the operation of that expanded area of service. So just keep that in mind. I don't know if the steering committee or anybody else has issues trying to get to the post office or trying to maneuver through the area, especially when school is in session. You have cars backed up and around the block trying to pick up their kids at Bromwell. I mean, it can be a real tough thing, or when the big buses come in with people that are staying at the Halcyon. So it's been a concern. When it was there, it was a concern. It was a problem. A lot of people don't think it's really the right application of that use in Cherry Creek North. I think the bid is going to stay neutral on it.
We are going to stay neutral on that specific patio. However, we have said we do not feel that below curb patios are the right usage in this district.
Yeah.
In its entirety.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of complaints?
Yeah. That patio.
We do.
But yes. Yeah.
What about other outdoor spaces? I mean, there's a handful now.
We don't have any out in the public right away, and that's really out in the parking lane. Really, that's where it really is a conflict. There are some areas where it makes sense, maybe adjacent to a sidewalk in a hardscape area, I think. And there are different ones you look at individually above curb that might make sense, but below curb, we don't see that as a good operation in this district anywhere.
What about the liquor license that's going to allow you to carry a drink from one?
Oh, that's called, that's a common consumption.
Common consumption.
It's a separate regulation, and we did a deep dive in that from the legal perspective on how that was going to roll out. If you've been down to the dairy block, you can see that works down there. It will probably work. Yeah, but it didn't, when we looked at it, there wasn't a place around here that it would work, but it will work when they open Cherry Lane, when you've got that enclosed area.
So in Glendale too.
Yeah. The way you had to like fence things off and do stuff, it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Well, Glendale is Glendale. We don't, I mean, they don't play by the same playbook, so.
It's gonna happen.
So
Could've just
we
do it.
can anticipate, it's a great question. We can anticipate that might be a really good place for that.
Yeah.
Especially because they're gonna do some street performers sort of in that paseo. So, but it would not apply to any of the stuff we're talking about.
Yeah.
So everyone is aware of that issue, that we are gonna probably run with that. We know that QI is, they really need more space. It's a big dollar benefit to them, and those of us who love that restaurant and, we want to see it succeed. We just think this isn't the way to do that. It's just too much of an imposition. So we are likely going to be going down that direction. I've been very straightforward with the lawyer who represents them, with whom I've worked for many years. So he knows this is coming, as well as their Josh Haplin is working on them from the lobbyist perspective. I guess that's the only word here, representative. So, but it is something we're going to be taking up. So you guys can expect to see that. If anybody else would like to join in that, you're welcome to follow if it's been an issue for you, your neighbors, anybody that you've heard from in your constituents that have issues with that. we're welcome to share what we're doing if that's.
Just a comment, because we walk that every single night. On Friday night, Ganant, who's the business right across the street, was having a big event. So they had everybody dressed in white and on the street, and the hotel was attempting through their valet to help an elderly couple out of their car. And so that back cars all the way down and all the way down the avenue. At the last count, there were 10 cars trying to get down that avenue, and then the other ones were coming this way. And people were on their horns and screaming, and the poor couple trying to get out of their car to get to the hotel were listening to it just hurt. And I thought that was even, besides the people that live on 250 Columbine that hear the horns, this poor couple was trying to get out of their car with their baggage, with the valet, as cars and people are screaming at them, and the partying at the Ganat, which is my jeweler, so I love Ganat, but they're spilling out wondering what the hell's going on. So it was such a visual affront to, and that was before the patio. I can't even imagine after. And that was just Friday night in Cherry Creek.
So we know we have issues with valet service, which is
Big time.
something we're really watching with Cherry Lane. Because they're gonna use the Clio valet, that was the plan. And, frankly, just even if you go over to the hot spot, Forget Me Not, and there are people waiting to get in because it's the place to be. And so driving down Clayton, it backs up because when you have ride share and you have valet, people just stop in the middle of the street. And so it's.
Well, combined with the lack
I'm on that
of
one.
parking enforcement is really hurting us, because we've added some like little delivery, like 30-minute parking areas, or, delivery before 11. But we don't have parking.
Do you have a time frame when all that goes? Forget Me Not in the patio, when does that?
Not yet, that Timber 225, I don't have an actual date on that. I expect this year though, but not positive.
Yeah, they're probably gonna try to keep that open as much.
As long as they can.
At least through summer, yeah.
Yeah, because.
And they're already starting to do some site work on the Cricket, and there's transformers that have to be moved, and there's a lot of kind of background work that has to happen before they really get going in earnest.
But the Cricket is also, that outdoor patio is a huge revenue producer.
Yeah.
And the Cricket is invested in this, so they have some control over the timing just based on the use of their outside space.
Quality Italian cannot act like when that was taken away. That was just sort of a fluke that happened, that COVID happened. Their original business plan would not have included the money they made in that makeshift thing.
So, but there is a use by right under the new regulations that were adopted after COVID. So if they meet the requirements for this new use by right, below curb use, patio use, if they meet the regulations and they get it passed, it is a use that they can apply for legally.
Yeah.
So what happened after COVID is the city came up and said, wow, this was a really great thing. And, let's try to close certain streets off time to time, which was also a COVID thing. Let's let people take out alcohol, which was a COVID thing, is now a real thing. So, you can pick up your food and your cocktail and whatever. All that was COVID. Well, this is a COVID, a result of COVID. It was it was a test. It was a way for the city to test all these different things. What worked, what didn't, what helped small businesses. Restaurants are small businesses, those restaurants.
Yeah.
So, so there's balance. And if they pass all these and they get approval from council, then what we will do is try to get a good neighbor agreement in place that mitigates what we see as the kind of issues. It would be a temporary, this is why they were arguing for a tier 2 level, is that that they will shut this down during the winter, pack it up and go store it. So it's not going to be there in the winter. It will just be a seasonal construct. So that's what they were arguing, but it didn't work. So they've got to get city council approval.
Another carryover from COVID, and it seems to have just died. So the fact that they closed certain blocks throughout the city for COVID, And after COVID, some neighborhoods wanted to keep those blocks sort of available for outdoor functions. And they sent, the city sent emails around saying, identify areas in your neighborhood that might be good for closing a block. I remember identifying our Madison Street down by Choppers. And it just died. You know, I wondered if
They're
the
making
city did anything with that.
You know,
this week.
last summer they closed Broadway for a while,
So
you
disruptive.
know, on Sundays or wherever it was. But
We never heard anything back though.
I don't know if that just didn't work and they, well, I think they were looking at ones that had closed before that they were going to continue. But no, it's
They must
something.
come up with the flagpole and then we.
Yeah, right, yeah, okay. All right, well, we can always ask Councilwoman about that and see if she has any idea. So some of those programs, if it's an administrative cost, my guess is that, shoot, it's not gonna happen anymore.
Yeah.
Because they just don't have that manpower or money to hire. So with that, if there are no questions about those topics, I am gonna turn it over to Mr. Barrett again, who is gonna
Okay.
talk to us about this interesting Ike Smart Digital
Yes,
Directory.
so we
platform.
are coming to the steering committee to attempt to get a letter of support for a project we've been working on for actually quite some time. Let me pull this up all the way here. So, one of the first things actually 5 years ago, when I came into the job, we did kind of a look at our assets throughout the district. And part of our assets, you know, are the street poles, 600 and some odd street poles. We also have our directories, our static directories at the corners. And I'm not sure if anybody has seen those, if you look at it with any detail, but they're kind of falling apart. And it's about time that we replace them. So we went out to look to see what we really want to do with replacing them. And we ended up launching an RFP to try and get companies to come in and propose to us what the right solutions are going to be. Out of that RFP, we have come to agreement with Ike Smart Cities on the Ike platform, which is this directory that you see here. So it's a digital directory. I look at it as a big iPhone, quite frankly. It's something you could have all the apps on it that you would want that can do different things. And just looking at how cities have evolved and neighborhoods have evolved, we think bringing this kind of smart city hub to Cherry Creek would be very beneficial for our customer base to be able to do, you know, advanced wayfinding. You could walk up to it and where's the closest Japanese restaurant? Let me send walking directions to your phone. A lot of great things that this can do that quite frankly the static directories cannot do. You know, we can do a page dedicated to arts within the neighborhood to show an art walk of all of our public art features we have. You can do resources for folks that are looking for civic resources, have a tile up for that. Cameras on them, if we decide to do that, that can be accessed by the police department, some kind of security camera presence, which to me, I think is a huge win. Emergency phones on them for if you need to call authorities, or maybe we loop it through to the public safety team to be determined on that. But this is something we'd love to bring to the district. This would have to pass through city council though, because there's an outdoor advertising component to this. You know, these tiles, when it's not, you know, our directory on there has the outdoor advertising that scrolls, no sound of it, but it's an outdoor advertising play. Right now, 16th Street Mall has them. They're able to do that through the transit amenities program. So you notice they can advertise on bus stops throughout the city. That's how they have it permitted. We do not have transit stops in our neighborhood, nor would we want to permit this through a transit amenities program because that's an annual permit. And if we have a company that's going to come in and invest millions of dollars into the district, they're not going to do it on a 1-year permit that they might have to tear everything out. So kind of the short story is we're really looking to get support from the neighborhood association and from the steering committee on bringing these to the neighborhood. We just see it as a great evolution of kind of the services we offer and getting people in and out of businesses and assisting with wayfinding among the many other things. I mean, you could have a Cherry Creek question of the day. You could have a Cherry Creek neighborhood tile that talks about the history of the neighborhood. And a lot of, we think a great platform out there to have in the district. So that's
a great idea.
what we're looking to do.
So Richard and I had a conversation about this other day. And I asked some questions that I want to at least share some questions and responses and some concerns that I have raised with Richard. So if you watched the video link, you'll notice a lot of these are in pretty big urban areas. And our little village with our nice little streets, with our little outside patios, my questions involved, first of all, that these will be a little bit larger. They will be, and they will have rolling advertising. So if you think about, sitting out and having a drink and constantly seeing Coca-Cola or this or insurance.
Visual distraction, yeah.
But flow, it's changing. So one question, I think it was on one side it was advertising, it has two sides to it.
Yeah.
So as opposed to now, where it's static and you can,
Picture is not what they're going to do.
well, the picture is on one side. On the other side, you're gonna have rolling advertising. So if you watch the video of what they do, now that's not necessarily bad, right? Because there has to be a way to pay for this. It's a huge investment. It's a huge upgrade in the kind of information that we can give out, that we can gather, that we can relate to people. But it comes with this thing that makes Cherry Creek a little more, a little bigger and louder, frankly. If you're walking and you constantly see these rolling, I like Flo's commercial.
No sound.
Selling insurance, but I don't necessarily want to see her every time I'm walking down the street with my Starbucks. So we have to think about that. So one question I asked, is there going to be sound? Because we already know that a lot of the establishments, like the boot shop, like Yeti, they all have music now.
Right.
And so one of the things we've been very sensitive to and we address in our good neighbor agreements now is that when there's a new liquor license, we talk about now the sensitivity to adjacent properties. And so it's not just the decibel level, because they could both be in the decibel level and still you walk down the block and you're bombarded. So this is a little bit similar to that, but tonight the answer to that question, Richard researched it. There is no sound coming from this other than when you push the button to call for emergency services. So that is one good thing. I don't know if some of the other questions that I had in terms of how many. So right now, it's right now there are how many?
Current directories?
Yeah.
I don't have that. I think we're
It was-
19 or
I think
20
you
on the
said
current ones.
20 to
We're looking to
24.
do 20 on these, so 10 as a rollout, then 10 additional once we get the initial phase done.
So one question is, boy, if this generates a lot of money for the bid, which we all think is a good thing because the bid does great things. And, but if all of a sudden it goes from 20 to 30
Yeah.
and you have that many more of these, that's a bit of a concern. So in terms of thinking this through, and I told Richard, it's not really because we're just considering it for the first time. And all y'all need to go back to your constituents and your boards and you think about it and talk about it and bring something back. Let me know what you found out. Give us some before the steering committee can take an official position on it. So we will come back. If we have enough time, we'll wait till the next meeting, but we will take a vote on this at the next meeting. If Richard tells me he needs it now because they're going to have to set their city council date, I will email everybody and say, please give me your vote by this date. But we definitely want to make sure everybody is aware of what this is and that we don't have that whittling away of our, we don't want to be downtown. So this is all over the 16th Street Mall where there are buses and everything else. That's not who we are. So how do we think about that here? Thinking that we take all the good part and just think about that other piece. And then my question that I hadn't asked you was, you know, is there an opportunity to think about some kind of a, you know, for the support, is there some kind of an agreement that we get that, like, you're not going to put in double that many? So it's not without other approval from us, like a good neighbor agreement between the steering committee and the bid that says we'll roll out 20, we won't do more than 25 unless we come back to you and talk about it. Because again, if it's everywhere, it's going to be too, in my opinion, a little much. But think about those kind of things. And are there other ways to mitigate
It
it?
has to be done tactically, without a doubt.
Is there a way that don't all have to be exactly the same?
They're a pretty standard unit. As we went out to, nationally on this RFP, everybody has their proposed unit that they present, and there's not a lot of like variation in them.
Making it more artistic so that you can incorporate artwork with it and make it unique rather than just another advertising device.
So we have, the way we have our agreement is we have a portion of that screen time ourselves as the bid, so we could program it with, art, where we've already kind of thought through, because we're really spinning up that Cherry Creek Arts Foundation again. And how can we tie these things in together to, have art on them? And we're going to have our own screen time that we're going to, in essence, own, that we could program, and we can choose what to do, be it advertising, neighborhood events, be it art stuff on there. How do we cross communicate with the culturals, How do we maybe, do something for the DCPA?
People like, what's his name, Anzon, who's done stuff. Is an amazing artist. What's his name? Lonnie Hams, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Yeah, Lonnie. Bringing in somebody that
Makes it easy.
thinks outside the
Yeah.
box.
Yeah.
And says, here's an opportunity to make a unique art statement for Cherry Creek.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, my consultant on this was David Ehrlich. I'm not sure if anybody's worked with David before. He's the one that set the theater district up downtown. And so he definitely has plugged in like that arts piece, and that's been a big piece of the conversation with us as far as how are we going to activate our time on this, and then how can we really, it's for us in the end game, it's about providing a great amenity to the neighborhood. I mean, that's really what it is. It's an amenity to the neighborhood, an amenity that's not only good for residents, but is it good for customers that are coming here to help them with wayfinding, et cetera.
Alan?
Several questions. If this is an electronic device, would it be possible to put the directory on both sides? And when it's in use, it's a directory. When it's not in use, it's advertising,
I don't have an answer for that. I
because it's all the same technology.
yeah.
But what are the provisions of the contract and what is your obligation to allow them
You're
to
saying it's
do after
I
that?
think we have,
It's a big iPhone.
I think the screen that we have on our side is the one that has the directory when it's not engaged.
So probably, I mean, just knowing how these contracts with these companies work, they're gonna be able to control the one side because that's the revenue generator. And the revenue generator is how they get paid back their $1 million to 10
Sure, but
of infrastructure.
what I'm saying
And then
is
they share the rest.
Both screen, when the active screen is not in use, why couldn't it be advertising too?
It would be, yeah,
Or it would
it would be, yeah, it'd be
So it's on
advertising when it's not in use.
On 24/7.
on both sides.
Yeah, it would dim down at nighttime though.
It does the.
Yeah, it would dim down at nighttime. And they have a 2-hour window to
Another
respond
question,
to us on like light complaints.
second question is how many stationary directors do you have?
I was just thinking, I don't have the map in front of me, but we're,
I walked around.
I want to say it was 19
I got
to
that
20, 23 maybe. I have to look. I don't want to quote the wrong number.
8 of these, it's 23.
I'm not sure if they'll all go in the exact same spot as static directories, because there's ADA requirements now that are different than what the requirements were back when those static directories went in. So some things might have to shift a little bit just to meet current code.
I have a couple questions. Are you through, Alan?
Yeah.
Wait, I'm first, Annette, and then
I missed something in the whole present, obviously, a big part of it, that the company that you're getting these from, makes their money by advertising to the people. So do you pay for them? Do you lease them?
No, we make money, we receive.
You,
They will install them. They actually spend all the money on it. We get a portion of the revenue from it.
And these are national.
and the revenue, how does the revenue generated?
Advertising, outdoor advertising.
Okay, so you're putting these in.
They
And
sell advertising
it's
on them.
it's a basic way to advertise as well as to make money. As the static ones don't, because.
Yeah, the statics one.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
okay, so
So for us to
you
get,
make money, you make money.
we make money, we make money.
You're still giving the information out to people.
And the end game is it's that great directory and wayfinding piece. You know, that's really the end game that we look at from the bid perspective was how can we bring a good amenity to the neighborhood? And that's kind of what started the conversation. We didn't want to go with the same static directory that we know there's better technology out there. So that's what's led us down this path. And so this path is supported through outdoor advertising. However, they make enough money on these that they actually pay us to be in the neighborhood.
And
So we take that money and invest it back in the neighborhood.
Okay,
like
and so-
ADT, putting in everything for free, and then you pay a
Okay.
monthly fee.
I just missed that whole part. Okay,
They're paying for everything. They've paid for all of my work up to date on this project.
okay.
Right? This doesn't cost the bid anything.
Zero. We make money on this.
And the other question I had, and then I'm gonna shut up, is when you have these interactive things, you need to keep them up to date. It's like having a website.
Absolutely.
So are you going to have someone that will be responsible for keeping at least?
Everything's in our contract as far as when equipment gets replaced, how they have to service them, how they have to maintain
Not
them.
that
She's talking
much, it's
Software
about the
upgrades,
information.
software upgrades is in there.
No,
Everything's in there.
restaurant went out of business, but nobody's changed the
Oh, yeah. We
information.
would actually have somebody in our office that's managing as far as our content piece of it. We
Okay.
manage that at the bid.
So will it be the same person that updates your website, or is it a new person, or do you have?
We have to path it out.
About that?
We have to path it out. I mean, it would generate enough for us to have somebody
Yes, that is
that's
the most,
focused on this project, because this is something, and I could say they do these nationally in some cities. I've done a lot of homework on them. Some cities and some communities really lean into these and some don't. Some see it as like a revenue play and they kind of ignore them. Then you have communities that really lean into these and harness them and use it for getting great information out. And that's the model that
You're
we
gonna-
look at as the bid is. This is about something that we would leverage because that's a tool to communicate to our customers. And it's also a tool to get feedback. You could do the Cherry Creek question of the week, and then, all of a sudden then we're able to get data from folks like, what's something you'd like to see in the neighborhood? So for us, it's two-way communication.
my thing about it is, it's almost a full-time job for someone to keep these things updated, because there is nothing that is more irritating than to have something like this that does not have up-to-date information. So
100% agree. That's a credibility.
in the plan that, it's like a website, and it's, as person on our website knows, it's almost a full-time job.
It's almost a full-time job just getting new phone numbers.
Susan and then Doug.
Okay. Every few years in this committee, we have talks with a bit about our parking problems. I'm on the fence about this, but I do think this might be an opportunity to help show people where they can park beyond the street. I mean, that's something we struggle with.
Absolutely.
So that,
And it's also something that could help us fund some of those mobility initiatives we're looking at, because right now we're in the middle of the big signage and wayfinding plan for mobility that, we haven't released yet, but
I think Lou has.
is there any
Advertising.
Well, I guess we could go downtown on our own time, but could we get one up on the corner and look at it?
let me find out if they still have one in town they can do that with, because there was one in the DDP conference room for some time. So I can find out.
Don't have some special programs that have get a picture of all.
16th Street.
Yeah.
You might have to go downtown.
I know.
And they're fun. I mean, I quite frankly, I went down there and played with it, and because I did a lot of research on these, and there was a lot of, I'm going to say, not smart solutions that we didn't like. And then there were smart solutions that I actually went to some properties, and this was the one product I found that was supported well and maintained well and actually functioned and thought about being outside in the elements. And I mean, I went to some places and there were some product lines that they had these great directories and they had like posters taped over them.
No,
Those were not products we're bringing to the table. We did a lot of homework on this
on this
one.
company. Doug?
My question was, I think if there wouldn't not be any kind of video capability, right? It's not going to show moving pictures on the advertising side.
Oh, yeah, no, it would. It'd be full.
Well,
Yeah,
it's going to be like moving, you're going to like be watching
it could be full.
people walk.
Yeah.
That's a lot more disruptive than just simple picture.
Yeah.
Picture.
I mean, so it could be like movie trailers.
Yeah, it could just, yeah,
Except no sound.
yeah.
So,
Sound.
and now
Yeah.
we could also, if, you know, he said there's no sound, but if they come up with sound capability, we could have this good neighbor agreement say, we're not gonna have the sound
Yeah.
capability. So that would be some things that might, you know, software updates might allow that in the future, but we would say no. The other thing that I know I asked about was, you know, to the extent that there are cameras and those kinds of things, and search and gathering, like it's gonna send that information to your phone. What information is it taking that it would then use to push out advertising? Like, I don't want to use that to my phone and all of a sudden I see 3 things come to my phone that maybe somebody got through this process. And so the privacy issues are huge.
Yeah.
And especially if they're going to be interacting or, you know, like, oh, wow, I saw that video. You were down at QI again the other night. You know, I
That
mean,
was my,
whatever.
yeah,
No, I was
my other question.
on that security side of the video. It wouldn't be public video. It would be as we treat our flock cameras. Yeah.
I mean, with AI, you're gonna be changing, they're gonna be offering all new things all the time.
Mhm.
I mean, that was my question about the video is what if city council says you can't run cameras? You could just disable the camera.
We could do it without them.
Because
It's an option.
city council is not very happy with cameras.
Although they didn't tell you all that you had to get rid of your flock cameras, did they?
They did. We're not gonna,
You can't use them?
we can't install them, no.
You can't install which kind of cameras?
We had license plate cameras that we had purchased
Flock cameras?
and
Oh,
we never did install them. It
Well, so
got held up. But
We asked Councilwoman Sawyer at our event where we were talking about the JID, because one of the security features that people might want to invest in if there is a JID are flock cameras throughout the area. And we asked specifically, well, the city isn't going to renew. And by the way, that's a contract. It isn't that they're prohibiting, it's whether they're going to renew the contract for them. So as far as I know, she said we could still use them if
Yeah.
we wanted to do it. So I would ask her
Okay.
if you could do it, because they are not prohibited if your neighborhood wants to pay for them and use them, as far as I know. You just need to follow up.
But I think part of it was we were feeding the information to the police. We didn't want anything to do with the information, so.
Right, which is what,
But she would.
that's what they do. So,
That would still be okay.
That's what we.
yeah, that's what they do in the bid.
Oh, I didn't know that. All right.
Yeah, you should be, and if you have questions
Yeah.
about that, connect with Richard,
Okay.
because that's what we have in the neighborhood, and it's been very successful. Linda?
Back to this. So kind of coming from a different viewpoint. I met with Richard and got an overview, which was really helpful. So when I left that meeting, what I did was walk around the neighborhood and look at the static ones, which I didn't even know where they were. So I've been on a mission to go up and down the blocks. So that number one tells us something, that the current ones, nobody's paying attention to. The other thing I thought about is if you walk through Cherry Creek North on actually Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, it's a whole different demographic. So you have younger families on phones who would be more comfortable with technology than some of us younger, older people are. So how do we, and we talked earlier about how do we really link into small businesses? So hopefully this would be another tool that if we really want to do something and drive people to a new or to a small business, how we work with the bid to kind of bring up different events during the year. Because right now you've got your gorgeous, now that I found the sites, you have your gorgeous poster about all your upcoming events.
Yeah.
But it's stagnant and it's not inviting. And I've seen a couple people just look at it, but they're totally confused. When you listen to somebody who's trying to read the director, because it's like this long.
Yeah.
So there's some opportunity, I think, to look creatively about a different use that would empower people to come more to the businesses. For us to connect with our younger people, safety is the number one issue for Cherry Creek North. How do we work with the bid on the design so that safety is an issue? Parking is a huge, so if some of our concerns are included in the design of what's on the screen, that would be a win-win.
Yeah, mobility and wayfinding, big part of what we do with this, but that's just a big
Yeah.
initiative for us in general. It's definitely more to come because we are pathing out a right-of-way signage and wayfinding plan to get people off the street into parking.
And Richard, I'm assuming when you place them, you consider they're not in front of 250 Columbine where there's people right there. I'm assuming you place them at a critical business juncture. And so you're real thoughtful. That would be a huge where
We
they.
have approval rights over where they go.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, good.
Well, and a couple other things. So we talked specifically about the light pollution thing, and they have the opportunity to tone it down. Because now the company is going to want to do more ads, brighter in your face, more rolling, all that kind of stuff. So having the ability to quiet the light coming from that and soften the light might be, again, another thing that we can talk about. Can we please watch that? Because we all know how destructive that can be, like the First Avenue, First National Bank sign coming down First Avenue. When they started doing all that, it was like, oh my God, everyone hates it. And so, and also one of the things I asked Richard, and you all know, because we've talked about this for years, is that we have in our area plan, in our Cherry Creek West agreement, in our First and Colorado Gateway property agreements, the ability to get our gateways, right?
Yes.
So having one of these in an area where we want our gateways is no bueno. So we have to make sure that we work, that we have the ability to not have this. Like, I don't think this should go on First and University. I mean, it's going to be First National Bank building. So having the concerns of entering our neighborhood, this isn't just the bid. It's not just about the businesses. This is our neighborhood. So we don't want that element to define who we are. Advertise. Now, we all know where most of the businesses are and the restaurants and things, because we live here and we walk it all the time. But if you're coming down to stay for a weekend at the Halcyon, I'll bet those directories get used a lot because people look at what's where and it's on the map. We all kind of know that, so we don't maybe use it so much. But so my only thing is, one, I guess I would ask you to think about whether there's a good neighbor agreement that we can think about as the steering committee moves forward with this support. So think about that, because some of these issues, and we can brainstorm a little bit, and we can make it light, it doesn't have to be an oppressive but it does have to be something where we feel like if we're going to really stand up and give our support, if it goes to the council, you could have people that support it, people oppose it, right? And there might be some of those, but if we can stand together on it, that it would be great to have that in place. And the other thing is, it sounded like from our conversation that the city may want to take this over, looking at it as a funding source. And so when this goes, how likely, what would the opposition say to going to city council? I mean, is this a contract that why does it, or just an exception to the normal outdoor advertising rule? What is the issue presented for council determination?
It depends on what pathway it goes, and I probably can't speak to all of them. I know one thing would be an adjustment to our encumbrance permit. That's the path we would like to take. We already have an encumbrance permit over the entire district. To add this to be part of our permit, that would be our end goal with that.
Makes sense.
I do know the city is looking at doing this as a citywide RFP, and my concern is, quite frankly, that if the city decides they want to raise revenue by doing outdoor advertising, Would you rather have the city managing this in the district and coming through, or would you rather have the bid doing it?
Yeah.
I mean, because the city is looking at this, they are going to put an RFP out and they are going to try to expand outdoor advertising.
With the
To drive-
deficit they're in, they're looking at,
But they want to drive revenue.
of course.
So are they looking at it in Wash Park?
I can't tell you the neighborhoods. I know they're looking at it as the city as a whole. Where could we do this? And
Where could we do
could we
it?
make money?
Bus stops is where it sounds like they're focusing.
Well, the bus stops is what they currently already have. They're looking
But
to
they would
expand that
with
because they would
these
want to
because
do.
This might be something that they possibly would say, well, Cherry Creek, this is a great place. We'll just be in.
Come in and do what.
Is there any way, if the city decides that this is what they want to do in Cherry Creek, can you change that?
I don't have an answer.
But you have, the bid has control, would have to look at what those provisions are, because you. have
Well, they
control
can
over that.
supersede, they could permit over us without a problem. Yeah.
Three things: lights, camera, and sound. Is it possible that camera can be installed in that it can be sort of like a ring doorbell where you can watch what's going on the sidewalks?
Well, there's security cameras. I
So
don't
there's
have that.
security cameras inside already, and so we could take that tape and you're able to see any kind of
Crime.
crime.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
One-
Or anybody walking down the street.
And then, the other thing I was curious about on the music side of it,
There's no sound.
No sound.
no sound, but similar to what's downtown, on Larimer Square, where they have the speakers in the light pole, where they have very soothing music. They control the type of music. Is that possible at all to have music coming out of that?
You wouldn't do it on these because they're so far apart. We've looked at district-wide music and
Okay.
district-wide music is a very expensive proposition that we don't have the infrastructure for, and satellite's not quite there yet to tie everything in to make it sound good. To competing with the businesses that are bleeding sound out the door.
Okay.
And what I've found, and I learned this the hard way, when we did the musical trees and we had the music playing with the holiday trees, some people are very passionate for no sound.
His own music.
Yeah.
We don't do the sound on the trees anymore simply because of the complaints.
Yeah.
And
We
then
heard
the
about that
last
all the
one,
time.
third point, it was lights. Is it enough light that provides some type of security?
Yeah.
It doesn't illuminate like at 3 a.m. in the morning where we want to have that kind of light for security.
You know, it's
You have the
illuminated.
pedestrian lighting.
Is it, I mean, what, I mean. because
I
this is
would say it's
ground.
an activity center.
Okay,
So to me, whenever you have activity centers, that's kind of crime prevention through environmental design. So you have something that's inviting, you have people using it, and that kind of creates just that vibrant environment, which is probably the best way to.
but at 3 a.m. in
Reduce
the
crime.
morning, the light wouldn't.
It's good, it would be
effective.
calm down. It wouldn't be super bright and blinding.
Okay, just automatically. Okay, all right.
One more question?
Question. So knowing how my kids work and they go to a new city or something. Google Maps is the things you use. They connect through their cell phone. They don't bother with these kinds of things.
So
So is there a way to actually connect to a cell phone? So you can see the same thing you can see here on your cell phone.
So like a
not,
QR
not in
code?
totality. However, let's say you're going up and you want to say like, what's the closest Japanese restaurant? I need directions. Do you want to send them to your phone? Yes, it'll send it right to your phone and you can just use your phone from that point.
That's the way.
Yeah.
They
That's the way they operate
Okay.
right now.
So I wonder how this technology. Because they won't even go and look at one of these. They will get it, all that information on their phone.
I think some people are going to get it from their phone. I mean, that's just inevitable.
I think this is old technology. Because everybody carries, the younger generation.
I think if they're,
All carries a cell phone.
And they also,
That's what they use. to
yeah,
decide.
so true.
I also think like if I'm looking for directions, I would just say, and I see like I want to go to this place, I'm gonna look it up on my phone still. But if I'm in an area where they have these and it's an area like Cherry Creek, I'm gonna go to it because I'm gonna say, what's going on in the neighborhood? And there's other tiles there you don't have on your phone, you know, what's
It's true.
local information.
You translate that stuff to a phone. So that you've got the same information.
I don't have an answer for you. I'd have to ask
But
what,
I think that's where it's going.
yeah. I don't think they have an app that would like mirror the screen from this to what your phone is.
Be a good idea.
I mean, to your point, Brooks, I mean, it really becomes just an advertising vehicle, that's all it is. Because everyone goes to their phone to get directions for everything, restaurants.
Well, some people might, but I think if you're here to enjoy Cherry Creek and you're not gonna say Starbucks near me, right?
But they're
Near me.
cell
might-
phones in front of them all the time.
Yeah, but you might want, if you're here to be here, you want to look at, like, what's my menu? And you can't do that on a cell phone. You have to tell it what to look for.
You can't-
Here, no, here you look at this and it gives you a menu. What's going on? What concerts? What restaurants, right? You can say what.
All the coffee
And-
shops and.
There you go,
Yeah.
priorities, coffee shop.
But okay.
But I mean, your point is well taken. Some people may not use it, but so it's, and it's still gonna make money because the advertising's still gonna run.
Yeah, right.
But,
It makes money, I guess that's the bottom line.
well, so, maybe they'll,
Yeah.
we'll have to see.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, I think if you're in a destination area, which if you go down to DCPA and they have some of these that tell you what's happening right then and there and what might be, that there might 3 blocks from here, there may be a concert that you're not gonna know about on your phone. So it may be,
Just tell you that slowly. If I go out with this to something, and I'm going to look at that stuff, they've already got it on their phone. Whatever it is that I'm looking for, they've found on their phone.
so,
Anyway, I think that's true. I think
Yeah.
the difference to me is if I'm in a destination, then I need help with that destination that I might not just say, where's coffee? I might want to say, what's around here?
They go to
And
Google
look up
Maps.
big. If you don't know where you're going.
Instagram, I mean, London, I mean, my son was in London and I was looking on it and next thing I know, for the next 3 weeks, I got nothing but everything to do. Everything you want to know and think about doing, just open up on Instagram, because I was looking
That's
there.
what they use.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
that is a deterrent for using your phone. So if you don't want to be bombarded with stuff remembering, this won't remember.
Come use our
which is
directories, yeah.
what-
Director, yeah.
Which is what the question was. If we look that up and you have the phone number that it sends it to, is it going to track me? Am I going to get? And I really think we need to know the answer to that.
Yeah.
If there's any tracking, then I think that's going to really put people off. So, because you're right, you can think about it and the next day you look at your phone and there it is.
There it is.
That's why I have so many motorcycles.
My Google Ads work. Finishes, it's like.
All right, I know that this is, we just have a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to bring this to a close. So I would like everybody to think about this, talk about this with your constituent groups. If you have questions about it, email the question to Richard. Please copy me so I can keep track of those questions. And then when Richard gets the answers to some of these points, we're going to get it out to people so that the next time we come together are we meeting in, July, June.
June.
So we will.
Blow your roll. June.
We'll get, we'll have a decision. If he needs that information sooner, I'll reach out to you guys so that we can get some real information. And then I will ask you to please talk to Nick and brainstorm about
list there.
this. And then if you can ask these questions with them and we can think about a GNA, something simple, something sweet, in exchange for whatever the support, it'll be based on some of these things that we can have at least some say in whether it balloons into 50 of these, right, or not,
Yeah.
or some ability to request that the tone and the lighting be on the advertisement be turned down from time to time. So if we can start thinking about those kind of things, and if anybody has any ideas of things they would like to see in some kind of an agreement like that, sensitivities, please let me know. So,
If I don't get back to you right away, I'm out next week, so it'll probably be the week after before I.
that's fine. Just if everyone copies me, I'll keep a list. And then when you're back, we will get together and we'll vet that a little bit, but if, in the next couple of days, if you can run some of those primary questions, most important of which is, if I interact with it and it sends something to my phone, has it captured any am I gonna hear from anybody again I don't want to hear from, right? So, with that, thank you all very, very much. See you next month. We are adjourned. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Interesting. Yeah.
Much more to think of than I originally thought.
Good question. It's just, one of those lucky ones that you get.
Yeah. I.
And,
It's. I can find the stuff in my stick card, so.
I'll get it up.
Yeah.
And then I'll send it to everybody so they can get over to their board.
The timeline.
Because most people we say you're not sending up. Like, get their, so I've heard that before on the direct request. You?
Find a good time.
Sherry, nice for you. It's perfect. That's what we asked.
Yeah.
Kids can't use it.
I mean, maybe.
Whatever.
I think it's, I don't know. That's what's.
I mean, I know people.
Together and done the legal work together. I think there are companies that help you get out of them. They're not necessarily lawyers. That,
A lot of.
ask your kids to find it because they'll find it in a heartbeat.
Well, this-
I can't say I don't know what's that.
Yeah.
Comes with a warning, good.
Who pays the,
It reads this water.
who's they?
My
With the raincoat, yeah.
And
They have been using
allows, they have been using, and they don't want it.
There you go.
Perfect.
the travel.
Well, one of the things is to determine, to look at your contract and see whether that, if you need liability beyond that trust.
Right.
I got the separate account
Googling it.
I know, so.
and I didn't sign anything.
No, but if
And you know what's really
you,
nice?
you just need to look at
Just
the
feel it.
deal. I mean, the
Timeshare contract.
Yeah, that's what's nice, because usually if it's raining, it's not really cold anyway.
to you all the time. So you
It's
need.
not bad. It's like a.
Then you have like your.
Yeah.
Like your
You don't have
CCR.
yours when you do
Oh,
that.
your assistant did.
Wow.
So that's the rule.
Did
And
you
we need
walk
to-
or
we
drive?
need to look at that and see
Yeah.
if